Good evening. Good evening and welcome to worship at Patchwork. We're so glad that you're in here, and those of you joining us online, either live or at a later time. Go ahead and prepare everyone online. So please let us know that you're here by putting your name in the comments section. You can also start putting in any prayer requests you have, whether for joys or concerns. Also, we will be having a communion service later in the evening, so please gather your elements, a little bread or cracker, a little juice or wine, whatever you would like to have, and then you can celebrate with us at that time. And then also we'll have announcements at the end, so if you have announcements for the good of the community, you can also put those in the comments section. So I'm going to lead sort of the peripheral parts of the service, and then the meat, the main course, is going to be Amy presenting the slideshow from the children's program that she presented at the end of the school year party this past Thursday. It's, as usual, just a really great slideshow, so I know you're going to enjoy that. I wanted to start out just with a few words about the children's program, because one of the things that I really value about it and think is special and unique about our children's program as opposed to other programs is that it is about the artistic process. A lot of places that do arts or crafts with kids will have a project and you pretty much know what it's going to look like at the end. You know, they might use different colors, slightly different shapes, but you have an idea. It's pretty much a railroad track to the end product. Whereas the children in our after-school and summer programs, I think, are really challenged to go through the artistic process, to find inspiration for themselves, to find solutions to artistic problems for themselves, and even to work in teams to do those things. And so the adults, the kids, no one knows exactly what it's going to look like at the end. And so it becomes this creative, co-creative process of making art. And that's one of the things I love about it. And so it made me think in theological terms. We have a branch of theology called process theology. And basically it talks about God's creation not as some single one-time event billions of years ago, but God is continually and eternally co-creating the world and the universe with everything that is in the universe. And that you could even start to, how would you think about God differently if you shifted the primary metaphor from a divine being or an entity and shifted it more toward what if God is a process? What if God is the process of creating and moving toward a whole universe? Anyway, it's a fast, and there's a lot of books that you can read about process theology. But I'm going to start with this quote from Marjorie Suhoki, who is a process theologian. And she writes, "Beauty is at the heart of all things. Beauty is at the heart of God. And the beauty that we see and even create is like the trailing wake from God's hand across the ocean of the universe. This is why in attending to beauty, we become open to the mystery of God. In attending to beauty, we open ourselves to participation in God's own transformation of things to modes of beauty not yet realized, but hovering still on the edges of becoming." And I thought about that when I think about the arts in our children's program. Do we want to sing a song? We didn't really plan for it because we didn't know who all was going to be here, but since we have Jill here, would you be able to lead maybe This Is the Day?
Oh, sure. And what page is that on?
That's going to be 57 in the songbook. No, that's okay.
57.
Or at least get us started on the radio.
Yeah. There we go. This is the day. This is the day that the Lord has made. That the Lord has made. We will rejoice. We will rejoice and be glad in it. And be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made.
Yeah, no, we won't try to modulate right now. Well, as we do every Sunday evening at our worship service, we gather ourselves into community, and one of the ways that we do that is by sharing our names. I'm John.
Amy. I'm Susan. Laura. Jill. Helen. Philip. Bill.
And we have Natasha is with us online, and so far she's the only one I see tuned in live online. So welcome, everyone. It's good to be here with all of you. Do we have celebrations? I didn't see any on the calendar, but do we have any celebrations, birthdays, anniversaries, any other celebrations? I know we're getting into this. Sorry? It's Mother's Day, of course. Today is Mother's Day. We celebrate mothers. And we're also getting into graduation season. I don't know if there are any graduates to celebrate right now. Anyway, well, again, if you have celebrations to share, please share them online, and we can do that. Otherwise, at this point, I will hand it over to Amy to... You want me to turn off some lights?
Yeah. All right. And we're going kind of low tech on the sharing online. So, and this is actually going to be this. I have two versions of my slideshow. This is going to be the one that is safe to broadcast on the internet, since we're broadcasting on the internet. So unfortunately, that means that you won't be able to see all of the amazing smiling faces of the kids, which is always fun. But that's why, as we go through this slideshow, you won't see kids' faces, just for the sake of safety on the internet. Although my show seems to have disappeared. Although it's still on this. It may be hiding behind. There we go. All right. So, yeah, so this is the school year. So, like usual, actually, this was a announcement that one of the kids decided to make up, and it was just really sweet. Every day starts with intro time. It's always open-ended games that the kids can do whatever they feel like doing. It's time to interact with adults. It's a little bit unstructured. So it's kind of a transition from school to patchwork time. And then one of the first big projects we did, art projects, was the kids made buttons. And they were supposed to have on them, there were collages, and they also included words that the kids chose to describe themselves. But then the children's program staff said by the end, it was just a competition to see how many buttons everyone could make, because they're so much fun. In the fall, we had, our garden had been growing all year. We actually had pumpkins, which I was really surprised about. We still had a bunch of tomatoes. And then Bill came and helped us harvest all the sweet potatoes. So there were 4 different groups that all took turns going out. And so we kept our... So we kept going out, and our box of sweet potatoes kept growing more and more full. And it's always just lots of fun, and the kids always get a kick out of jumping on the shovel to dig stuff up. We have, the last several years, we've had a group of interns from Ivy Tech, USI, and UE who come in, and part of their internship is they lead substance abuse prevention lessons. So part of the idea is that they're here for the whole semester. They build relationships with the kids get to know them, and so hopefully when they're talking about not using drugs or alcohol, then it's coming from somebody that the kids actually know. And then that was one lesson. They did an obstacle course outside to experience the way smoking makes your lungs not able to breathe so well, but then we ended up just throwing leaves around too, which was awesome until we found some dog poop. So, yeah. And then so this was the ceramics in the fall, so we made nativity sets for the kids to take home, and we also made luminaries, so that was what was with the stars. So here's a few of the finished nativity sets, and no one really had enough time to get all of their pieces, so they were the most quirky little nativity sets with whatever pieces everyone made. And then it was our Christmas party, which is always extra fun. And we learned how to make the origami Christmas trees. And then they got more glitter out than I think we've had out in the last 5 years combined to make a bunch of extra art projects. And then Aldersgate came and told the Christmas story and sang Christmas carols. And then the kids got to go shopping in the Christmas store where they pick out gifts to take home for their families. And that's always really sweet too. They always are instructed, they think through who in their family they want to give a gift to, and then they get to shop for those people. We continued doing homework time instead of the full tutoring. So it was every day that the kids came, we asked them if they had homework, and if they had homework, they got matched up with an adult to help them work on their homework, get it completed. So that happened too. This spring, one of the big projects was the glove monsters. So Jane had a bunch of single gloves, and she brought them in, and so the kids made little sketches for what kind of monster they imagined making with their gloves. And then they made their little monsters, and so we had all kinds of feathers and buttons and things. Yeah. And then they had little character sheets to fill out. And so they described what the characteristics of their monster were, where they were from, what they like to do, how they act around other monsters. And then they did one final story in the round where the whole group developed a story for how their monsters all got together. And it was a story where there were a bunch of rabbit kinds of monsters and then a bunch of monsters. And the two groups didn't know each other but got to meet and then became friends. And then Spencer came and did a lot of music with us, which was really nice. It was a nice addition to the year. And then when the weather was nice, we walked down to Haney's Corner. We took some of our extra books and restocked. There's a bunch of little free libraries down there, so we took our books down and restocked them. And then throughout the year, there was just lots of art. So This is just an assortment of stuff, but we had origami that turned into making paper airplanes and having paper airplane flying contests. They made Valentines, which were always really sweet. Jean Page is a volunteer who was a retired art teacher, and so she led several projects, and this was one. And then we had Unicorn Week, and we did just random scratch art unicorns, which is always, yeah, so just a bunch of kind of short projects and longer projects mixed together. And then there's always easel painting for the kids that like to do a lot of extra painting. We did more in the ceramics studio. So they made snowmen, and then Jean led a project making coil pots that actually turned out really well. Sometimes it takes a lot of patience to make a coil pot because you have to build up each level. But the kids, so it's always amazing to me, and when it turns out well and the kids stick with it, and they did. And there's a bunch of their snowmen. And then we have shells around, so randomly through the year they'll make shell sculptures. And then Jean led the flower painting project. And so, yeah, there have been quite a few of those up on the wall as we got ready for the final day of the program. And then the last week, I guess the week before the last week of programming, the Master Gardeners came back and got started planting our raised beds. So you have onions and radishes and carrots and I'm not sure what else, and planted some sunflowers. So yeah, so that's, yeah. One of the random activities that they did was they set up a bowling alley in here, and the interns were the ones that had to go set up the pins. And this is actually a self-portrait, or portraits that the two kids in the previous picture had drawn of each other. So that's it. So yeah. You just missed it, Jane.
Well, in honor of the children's program, Jill, could we try to sing Inch by Inch, maybe? It's number 20. 20.
Everybody got it? You want all the verses?
How many are there?
Three.
Do you want to do 3 verses? Let's do 3 verses.
Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. Gonna mulch it deep and low, gonna make it fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, please bless these seeds I sow. Please keep them safe below till the rain comes tumbling. tumbling down.
Good job. All right. We'll turn our attention to a time of prayer, and unfortunately we do have some prayers of grief to share. Helen Templeton died yesterday afternoon, and so our prayers are with Jean and with all of Helen's family and friends and ourselves, because of course she was a good friend to us and an important part of Patchwork, and so we will miss her and grieve her loss. We're also grieving the loss of Bill Shelton. Some of you may have known, who was the partner of Tracy Lee for many, many years. Also not around recently, but was around here every now and then some years ago. So, right, used to play in the band with Kelvin and Tracy, and yep, right over here. But are there other prayers to lift up? Well, I want to, before I kind of jump into the prayers, again, share a quote from that same process theologian talking about prayer. God works with the world as it is in order to bring it to where it can be. Prayer changes the way the world is and therefore changes what the world can be. Prayer opens the world to its own transformation. And I certainly pray that it is so. I will open the prayers, and then there will be a time, if you wish to lift up your own prayers, you may do so. Please end with gracious God, and we will all respond, hear our prayer. Let's go to God in a spirit of prayer. God of eternally becoming more loving, more kind, more just, more beautiful, we ask that your presence and your process be with us as we go through the dark valleys of grief and loss and pain. We hurt because we have lost our friend Helen and our friend Bill, and we've lost others. And the grief sometimes is too painful. Comfort us, O God. Embrace us in your arms. God, we ask that you wipe away our tears and that you walk with us as we journey through that dark land, journeying ever toward light and wholeness. God, we ask that you be with all of those who are suffering, all of those who need healing, whether in body or mind or spirit. Be with all of those who are suffering violence, especially in Ukraine. Work through the hearts and minds of everyone, from the leaders of nations down to the poorest of the poor, that we may find better ways to work together for peace. And now, God, we lift up to you our individual prayers and petitions, ending with gracious God. Hear our prayer.
Adding one more to the grief part. My barber died last Tuesday. George Henson. He was 92. He was a Marine Corps vet, and he never retired at 92. He was still cutting hair. And his big joke, of course, was that the haircut was free, but his color was $12.
Hear our prayer. God, on this Mother's Day, I also lift up those for whom motherhood is complicated or a fraught experience, for those who had mothers that were abusive or neglectful, for those who wanted to become mothers but could not, for those who did not find, unfortunately, an image or feeling of your love in their mothers. I lift all of them up in prayer, and all of their heartache and all of their pain, that you may become a true mother and help make them whole. Gracious God, for all of these prayers, O God, the ones that we have spoken aloud, the ones that we keep silent in our inner being, and the prayers that we don't even know yet how to put into words, incline your ear, listen to us, let your Spirit intercede with sighs too deep for words. Hear us and be our God. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Now we turn to a time of sharing gifts. We will pass the basket for those who are here. For those who are not here, you are still welcome to contribute financially to Patchwork. You can mail your checks in. You can click the donate button on our website. There are lots of ways to give. These gifts will support ongoing work, ministry of Patchwork, including the children's program, which we just saw the slideshow about. But are there other gifts, things that won't fit in the basket, that you want to share with each other?
There was a lot going wrong on Friday, but yet we had a really nice First Friday.
That's right. Amy lifts up First Friday. This past Friday, there was a lot going on. Our phone systems were down. Our internet was down. The band had to cancel. It was threatening rain, and sometimes did rain. So it was, but it was still it was a great evening, and we had a lot of folks come in and eat here. People who didn't know what Patchwork was were introduced to us, and I thought the evening went very well.
This is going to take a brief moment, but there were some really sweet things that happened, because there were this time around there were a lot of families, and so there was one family with fairly young children who were about between like 3 and 4, and they came in and the kids looked at the traffic mural, the play mural, and there was one boy who had to look at every single side of that thing and identify everything he could possibly identify.
And touch it all.
And he touched it all, and it was really cool. And his mom was like, "Okay, well, we're going now." And he's like, he still had one more side to look at. So there was that kid, and then there were 2 girls who came in who were probably 4 or 5. And their dad said, "Oh yeah, like the older of the 2 girls was curious what this place was and wanted to come inside, so they came inside and they looked around and they stopped in the library and one of the little girls found a children's book in the library and they sat there and the dad read the book to them and I'm like, "Hey,
Amy's lifting up that we had several families come through on Friday night, but a couple of them, the kids seemed particularly enamored. We had one young boy who was enamored of our clay sculpture of the neighborhood and stayed to look at everything and touch everything. And then we also had a family with 2 girls, and one girl pulled a book off the shelf of the library, and her dad read it to her there in the library. So, we had some really nice moments on Friday evening. Are there other gifts to lift up? Yeah, Gail.
For the first time in my 50 years of being a mother, my husband prepared me a meal. It was very good.
Gail lifts up the gift of a meal prepared by her husband Bill, and it was very good, she says. So, yeah, Jill.
Those of us who are mothers are, of course, thankful for our children.
Yes.
But I happened to see on Facebook shortly before I came, Paige's beautiful daughters. And I'm thinking, oh, it's a beautiful picture of those 3 girls. And so that was a gift.
Yeah.
So Jane and Neil's grandma and grandpa, they could be very proud.
Jill lifts up that for mothers, their children are a gift, and specifically for Paige McFarling, her daughters took a photograph, a very nice photograph, and posted it, and that was a gift also, indeed. Other gifts.
I had phone calls from each of our children today. That was very, very nice.
Helen Fisher lifts up the gift of phone calls from each of her children, which was very nice. Yeah.
Once again, I have to say that even in sad times, it's a gift for all of us to be able to.
Indeed. Gail lifts up that even though we are in sad times, it is still a gift to be able to gather here together. Indeed it is. The gift of community is one not to be underestimated. We are a community richly blessed, and for all of these good gifts, we give God thanks. Do we want to try to sing again, maybe? Do we want to try, maybe in honor of Helen Templeton, do we want to try to sing the servant song?
Oh, sure.
67.
You want to do all verses, people, or not?
How do we?
Maybe,
Well, there's really six.
maybe not all.
How about 1, 3, 5, and back to 1? So that's
All right.
4. 1, 3, 5, and back to 1. All right. Will you let me be your servant? Let me be as Christ to you. Pray that I may have the grace to let you be my servant too. Verse 3. I will hold the Christ light for you in the night time of your fear. I will hold my hand out to you, speak the peace you long to hear. When we sing to God in heaven, we shall find such harmony. Born of all we've known together, of Christ's love and agony. Will you let me be your servant? Let me be as Christ to you. Pray that I may have the grace to let you be my servant too.
Jill has another concern.
Yeah, I have to sing the opera that's coming this
Oh.
weekend. That is a whole lot of Italian, a whole lot of singing. And I don't know if some of you guys can hear, I've got a problem anyway already. We have rehearsals Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and the whole program is through. So pray for me to get through this. And it's just been, this is like the third or fourth time they've tried to do it, and there are now people getting sick again.
So Jill lifts up that she would like prayers for herself. The chorus has the Philharmonic. Yeah, Philharmonic has an opera performance coming up, a lot of rehearsals, and Jill's maybe starting to come down with a cold or a throat, getting over a cold. So, and a lot of Italian to learn. So, for multiple reasons, keep Jill in prayer, especially this week leading up to and including the performance. Any others? I'm not seeing any online. So, all right. Well, we come now to the communion table, and we gather around this table. And I think Jesus, when he was gathering around this table with his disciples, needed to create some beauty in the midst of darkness, because he knew he was going to die. He knew they were going to abandon him and betray him. He knew that there would be all kinds of darkness, guilt, violence, suffering, both physical and emotional and spiritual. And so when he said, "I've greatly desired to have this dinner with you," I think part of what he was looking for was something for him and his friends to be a light in the midst of that darkness. And so, like an artist, he was an artist in many ways, he took these common elements, the plates and the bread on it, the cup with the wine in it, things that they had eaten and drunk together probably hundreds of times before, if not thousands. And he reframed it. He did what artists did best. He helped them to see the old familiar things in new and beautiful ways. And he said, "See this bread as my body. It's going to be broken, and there's going to be pain. It's going to be ripped apart. But because it's ripped apart, you'll be able to be part of me. You'll be able to take a piece of me, and I will be with you, and you will be with me." So this cup, see this cup that we drink out of all the time? Well, now see that the wine in it is the new covenant in my blood, a new kind of relationship, a new kind of beauty between you and me and God. And he said, and because all of this darkness is going to happen, but because we can see it from a different perspective, we can see that eventually it will lead to true union, communion, so that there will be wholeness, and there will be an even greater beauty than there was before. And so in that spirit, let us come to the table and join together in the feast, and perhaps see things in a new light. Because it was on the night that he was betrayed, Jesus gathered with his friends in that upper room, and he took a loaf of bread, and he gave thanks for it, and he blessed it, and he broke it. And he said, "Take and eat. This is my body broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me." And after supper, in like manner, he took the cup, and he said, "Drink of this cup, all of you, for poured out in this cup is the new covenant in my blood. And I will not drink of the fruit of the vine with you again until we drink it new in God's new kingdom." We've had to kind of set up things in reverse because of the audiovisual equipment. So if you would come to my, come to my right, your left, and then as you go back to your seats, just please be careful of the equipment. But everyone is welcome. Come to the feast. Oh, and I should say on the red tray is the wine. The two off the red tray are the juice. So everyone is welcome. Amy, the bread of new life given for you. Susan, the bread of new life given for you. Bill, the bread of new life given for you. Gail, the bread of new life given for you. Phil, the bread of new life given for you. Helen, the bread of new life given for you. Laura, the bread of new life given for you. Jill, the bread of new life given for you. Jane, the bread of new life given for you.
Get blessed with this.
we bought that for, yeah. Okay. Our worship service is almost concluded. I have one announcement. Does anybody else have announcements for the good of the community? Anything coming up? Okay.
When is our community meeting?
We are scheduled to have a community meeting next Sunday. Next Sunday will be the third Sunday of the month. So we're scheduled to have it. Thank you for reminding me. We're scheduled to have a community meeting next Sunday.
And then there'll be a Patchwork board meeting.
The Tuesday after that. Yeah.
Tuesday after that.
A week from this Tuesday. Yeah. So Patchwork Board meeting coming up a week from Tuesday. Community meeting next Sunday. Anything else? Okay. My announcement is that tomorrow night. Oh, sorry.
We don't know when the funeral is yet.
I don't have any information about the funeral, unfortunately. Has anybody? Nobody else? Sounds like maybe
It sounded like they were still making
plans. Okay. So yeah, we do not have information about funeral arrangements for Helen Templeton at this time. My announcement is that tomorrow evening, 6:30 at the Old National Events Plaza is the Cage Nehemiah Action. The issues coming up will be affordable housing, the new mental health initiatives, excuse me, and the incredible increase in utility bills and fees that have really hurt a lot of folks in our community. So please come out. Please invite other people to come out. The more people we have, the more sort of show of democratic force, the more that the politicians and business leaders and stakeholders will have to pay attention. So I have tickets. You can get tickets there. If you don't have a ticket, don't let that be the reason you don't come. But if you want to get a ticket beforehand and just fill out your name, and when it says invited by, you can say Patchwork Central, and then take it and turn it in at the event. Starts 6:30, Old National Events Plaza tomorrow evening. And I believe there's a way to join online if you're not going to go there. If you want information about that, email me or get to me, and I'll send you the information.
I mean, like it would count if you.
I believe so. Yeah. Yeah.
It might be counted.
Right. I believe it. They do. They will count all of the online participants as well as the in-person participants. Okay. I'll try. I will send the link. Yeah. Jane Staten. Send it to you. Okay. I'll send it out. I'll send it to everybody. I'll send it out in case that's how you want to participate. Yep.
And the Nehemiah action is where they've invited the politicians and stakeholders,
Business, yeah.
at this point here.
Leaders of businesses and organizations. Yeah. The mayor's usually there. City council members are usually there. They've invited the leadership of Centerpoint Energy. So far, those leaders have declined to come. I believe the head of Southwestern will be there for the mental health initiatives.
And they have been working with the people that they invited for months. They ask a series of pointed questions to the leaders. None of the questions are a surprise
Yeah.
to the leaders. None of it is a gotcha kind of moment. It sometimes is awkward because sometimes the people have to say no, that they're not going to do what Cage is asking, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But that's how the thing works.
Yeah.
At this point,
My understanding is they have not agreed to be there. So, any others? Oh, sorry. All right. Well, if there are no more announcements, then I believe we are concluded, and let the people of God say.